serving up great school meals. Some housekeeping items. Please type your email into the chat box to receive a training certificate by email. Use the chat box to ask questions. Turn your video camera on if available, and mute your microphone. It's usually in the bottom left during the presentation. And ideas generated from today's discussion will be posted on the Nutrition Services web page later this week. Okay, today's agenda is, first we would like to welcome Erica Arter back from maternity leave. She had a little girl, Emma, and we are so glad she is back and that everyone is doing well. Information that you need to know for today and for the future, I should say. Don't forget to mute yourself, please. Mandy Carney, our food service expert.
I got it.
If you guys would please mute your mic. It's on the bottom left, would be great. We have some administrative tasks for July and August. Back to school food service. Chef Sharon Schaefer from Gretna will be sharing some information. Then we'll get into breakout groups and have questions and answers. Information that you need to know. Our next Serving Up Great School Meals will be July the 28th at 2 p.m. Central Time. Topics to include ordering considerations for back to school. On July the 30th, we will be presenting an introduction to HACCP from 1 to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And this training is a basic introduction to hazardous analysis and critical control points using the USDA's requirements for food safety in schools and other facilities participating in the school meals program. On August the 4th at 2 p.m., Produce Safety Series, Summer Series will be starting. And this is Produce Safety University program that the USDA Food and Nutrition Service Office of the Food Safety will be partnering with other people to conduct a 4-part webinar series on Tuesdays in August for the nutrition professionals addressing the most popular topics presented at Produce University. Please mute your microphone. It's on the bottom left. Thank you. Serving Up Great School Meals will be moving days in August to accommodate for the Produce Safety Series. And we will determine that day later, but it will continue at this 2 o'clock start time. So today it is my pleasure to welcome Mandy Carney, our Food Safety Evaluation Officer from the Department of Health and Human Services. Mandy moved here from Madison, Wisconsin to Omaha when she was only 10. She's a graduate of Papillion La Vista High School. Please mute your microphone. It's on the bottom left. Mandy graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Environmental Studies from UNL. Mandy has been employed as an environmental scientist and became a registered environmental health specialist in 2008. In 2016, Mandy became the Food Safety Evaluation Officer for their section, which covers schools, childcare, senior centers, institutions, swimming pools, mobile home parks, wells, and septic systems. They have a lot of area to cover. She continues to inspect in Sarpy, Cass, Nemaha, Otos, Johnson, Pawnee, and Richardson counties. And she standardized their food safety inspections across the state. So with that, we'll have Mandy give us a few words here. And then if you have questions, please type them in the chat box. We will be monitoring that. And we will see how many questions we can get answered. But please listen. Thank you. Go ahead, Mandy.
Okay, well, I'll try and make this short. But first and foremost, I just want to stress that, aside from this being a global pandemic, most food service operations, procedures, and regulation that you already follow remain the same. The way that we serve may be modified, but the food code already has built-in controls for safety and sanitation. So whether it's by cooking and holding temperatures or sanitizing dishes and food contact surfaces, it's all there. So now this year we need to pay more attention to the way that we serve the food and ensure that all of the controls already in place are operating the way that they're intended to. So today I'm just going to go over issues and food safety protocols that we want to pay extra attention to while we're working, and provide some additional guidance based on CDC and FDA recommendations. Most importantly, if you're sick, stay home. If you get sick at work, go home. The CDC and the FDA recommendations for the workplace to reduce COVID-19 transmission among employees suggest that employers pre-screen employees by taking temperatures and assessing symptoms prior to work, and that they clean and disinfect high-touch surfaces. For employees, employees should self-monitor, take temperatures, and assess symptoms daily, wear a mask, and practice social distancing, and stay 6 feet from other people when possible. Some personal hygiene for employees and hand washing. We want to emphasize effective hand hygiene, including washing your hands for at least 20 seconds, especially after going to the bathroom, before eating, and after blowing your nose, coughing, sneezing, or touching your cell phone. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth, and use gloves to avoid bare hand contact with ready-to-eat foods. And before preparing or eating food, we always want to wash our hands with soap and water for 20 seconds for general food safety. So we've had some questions about where to serve lunch. Should we serve it in the classroom or the cafeteria? The CDC recommends serving food in classrooms instead of the cafeteria. However, if lunch will be served in the cafeteria, there are additional precautions that will need to be taken to encourage spacing between students while standing in line and while eating lunch. So in between lunch groups, tables should either be cleaned with soap and water and then sanitized or disinfected. Now, in schools, the tabletop is considered a food contact surface. And with that being said, disinfectants leave a residue behind that kills germs longer, and we don't want to transfer that chemical to any food that is placed on the table. So if disinfectants are used on food contact surfaces, they must be used as directed, which usually means going back over the table with a potable water rinse. Okay, so another question we have, should we wear masks? Yes, masks or cloth face coverings are strongly recommended, especially in kitchens where maintaining a 6-foot distance from other employees isn't possible, and while serving students. The #1 way this virus is spread is through respiratory droplets while talking, laughing, or coughing. When masks are worn, they must be clean and free from any food residue or debris, and they need to be washed daily. If they're fabric, if they're disposable, use as directed, dispose and get a new one. So let's see here. And then Beth asked me a question about wearing face shields for deaf students. I did some research on this, and the CDC does not recommend the use of face shields in place of cloth face coverings. So if face shields are used without a mask, they should wrap around the sides of the wearer's face and extend to below the chin. People who are deaf or hard of hearing might be unable to wear cloth face coverings if they rely on lip reading to communicate, and in this case, we recommend a clear face covering for staff and students. If clear face coverings aren't available, the recommendation is to consider using written communication, closed captioning, or decrease background noise. Okay, salad bars. So we've had a lot of questions about this, you know, and I tried to combine Nebraska directed health measures and FDA and CDC, and basically, so the Nebraska's directed health measures prohibit self-serve salad bars and buffets in restaurants and bars for all counties in phases 1 through 3. Phase 4, the green phase, is when prohibiting self-serve items becomes a recommendation. So that being said, the DHMs do not specifically address school food service. However, because children are considered a highly susceptible population, we strongly do not recommend any kind of self-service unless the items on the salad bar are pre-portioned, pre-packaged, or served. Let's see here. So served salad bars carry the lowest risk. Additional protection should be taken to prohibit respiratory droplets from getting on the food, especially with very young and short children. All sides of the salad bar should be protected and covered except where the employee is serving. So then the pre-portioned or pre-packaged items carry a moderately low risk. Sneeze guards and plexiglass must be used to cover all pre-portioned items unless there are lids or the food is completely wrapped and enclosed. All pre-portioned items without lids must be under a sneeze guard or plexiglass, and all food offered must be separated enough on the salad bar for students to avoid touching multiple items. Okay, and the third option here is the self-serve salad bar. They carry the highest risk and are not recommended. However, if you do choose to do self-service, the recommendation is to have students wash their hands or use a hand sanitizer with 60% alcohol prior to getting in the cafeteria line. And then after handling the self-serve utensils, hands should be washed again or a hand sanitizer used again before eating. The utensils on the salad bars must be changed out or cleaned and sanitized between each lunch group. All food items that are not wrapped must be under a sneeze guard or plexiglass in this scenario as well. All condiments must be pre-portioned, pre-packaged, or served. Wearing gloves, there's really no change here. You know, in Nebraska, if you're serving a highly susceptible population, which you are, you're required to wear gloves if there's any contact with ready-to-eat food items. Some things to remember about gloves: your hands and exposed portions of your arm should be washed for 20 seconds before putting on gloves or touching food contact surfaces. And we want to make sure that you wash your hands immediately after removing gloves, changing tasks, or touching your phone, etc. So let's see here. Dishwashing. All forms of sanitizing the dishes are the same. With manual dishwashing, it's the same 3 steps: wash, rinse, and sanitize. And we want you to make sure to check the chemical sanitizer levels regularly to ensure proper concentration. You know, and with bleach, that may be more often than a quat because chlorine is less stable than some of those quaternary ammonia-based compounds that you're using. Okay, and hot water sanitizing for manual dishwashing is also fine. Water temperatures need to be maintained at 171 degrees or higher. Let's see here. For the dish machine, we want to verify and rinse temperatures. We want to verify that wash and rinse temperatures are correct. And regarding chemical machines, they should be checked with test strips every shift, if not more often. Heat sanitizing dish machines, you should check the temperature every shift. You need to have a waterproof thermometer that's capable of recording the highest temperature reached in the machine or have heat test strips. As far as silverware and plasticware go, we recommend wrapping or preloading the silverware onto trays. You know, we don't want children reaching in and touching the handles to multiple pieces of silverware. You know, and when these are being wrapped, we want gloves to be worn by the employees. Also, straws should be pre-wrapped or preloaded on trays. Gloves must be worn while preloading, and straw dispensers are not recommended. As far as coats and personal items, we want those to be stored in lockers or in areas away from the food and kitchen equipment. You know, we don't want to see coats and purses, hats, cell phones, or any other kind of personal item on top of cans, shelves with food equipment, or in food workspaces. You know, and some extra kitchen precautions to take would be to clean and, excuse me, disinfect handles to equipment, doors, and non-food contact surfaces daily. High-touch surfaces should be disinfected more frequently. As far as food pickup and delivery go, excuse me, we want to increase we want to increase the frequency of cleaning and disinfecting within the vehicle, whatever vehicle you're using, and then practice social distancing when you're delivering the food. And then we want you to remember to clean and sanitize the coolers and insulated bags that you use to deliver the foods on a daily basis. You know, that is all that I have so far. Yeah, I don't know, Beth, do you have questions?
Yes, we have some questions.
Okay,
The first one is, do homemade masks are they required to be 3 layers? And that's for homemade masks.
I believe that's the recommendation that I've seen on the CDC website, so I would say yes.
Okay. If students will not be required to wear masks, do the kitchen staff need to wear masks?
Could you say that one more time?
Okay, if the students are not required to wear a mask, does the kitchen staff need to be wearing a mask?
Yes, we recommend wearing a mask.
Okay. And then somebody said, did you say washing hands after removing your gloves?
Yes, I did say that. And that is something that should be happening now. And, you know, I know that it doesn't always happen, but it really should, you know, especially, you know, in light of COVID-19. You know, we don't want to cut any corners.
Exactly. Okay. Can a teacher dispense water into a glass for the students to drink at lunch?
Yes, I think that, yeah, we would recommend that the teacher be wearing gloves and a mask and a hair restraint.
Okay, and then should milk and juice and other pre-packaged items be handed out, or can the students get their own?
You know, I'm going to leave that up to you guys. You know, handed out is great. I think that's a better option. You know, I mean, if you're going to have children reach in the coolers and grab their own, you want to maybe have somebody supervising that and reminding them just to touch what they're going to take and nothing else. You know, I think that's the best we can do.
Yeah. Okay, and then we had another question about the face shield, if they can use that instead of a mask.
The recommendation is not to do that. Because I think there was some science done. There's information on the CDC website that says, you know, that's not as effective as a mask. So we don't recommend doing that without a mask.
Okay, somebody wants to know if prepackaged utensils are a better option than rolling their own, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be ideal, but, you know, I know, you know, funding and, you know, there's financial restrictions too, I'm sure, with some schools, but yeah, pre-wraps would be probably the best option.
Okay. And if you can get them.
Yeah, right.
Okay, what about water stations throughout the school? What is the protocol for them? Whether the water fountains are off, or if they have the capability, can they do the bottles?
Right, exactly.
Sorry, can they do the bottle? What?
Can they do the bottles, where they just hold it up and then the eye fills it up? Or do they have to shut that off also?
I think that's a good option, the bottle option, because I mean, you have there's minimal contact with the lip surface, I mean, and you're just holding your own container when you're filling your water up. I think that's fine. As far as water stations go, you want to make sure, we want to see all the cups in a dispenser. We don't want to see like, stacks of styrofoam cups sitting there and without being in a dispenser, because what happens most times is kids will just grab the whole stack, put their hand all over the lip portion of the cups, and then pull the one off the top. And that's what we don't want to see. Does that answer the question there?
Yes, and to add to that.
Yeah, I would add that also that you want to, that would, I would say, be considered a high touch surface. So that should be like the handle to the bubbler or whatever should be disinfected regularly.
Mm-hmm. The other question that somebody wanted to add on to the water, they can't do bottled water because of the cost. So they've been using like 3 and 5 gallon coolers.
Okay.
Should they have somebody serve it for them, or can the kids do it?
So, okay, so let me just clarify. The water is in these 3 and 5 gallon cooler things with, I'm guessing, like a little spigot on the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? Should they?
Yes. Are they allowed to use the coolers, or should they have somebody serve them for them, the students?
I think it would be a good idea maybe to have someone serve those, but the more we can minimize touching the same, like dispensers, which would be the water in this case. Yeah, the water probably should be served. Ideally, it would be. So the kids aren't having to handle that.
Okay, good job. How long does a sanitizing rag need to be immersed in the sanitizing solution to effectively kill the virus?
The rag, well, it should be in the solution all the time. So it shouldn't be on the counter. It shouldn't be, like when you're using it. When it's not in use, it should go back in that bucket. And the contact time would be dependent on what kind of chemical you're using. Like with bleach, I believe it's like 2 minutes. With different quaternary sanitizers, they would have a different time. But I think, as long as that rag is in the bucket, we're not going to worry about that.
Right. Okay. And if there's using the sanitized towels, do they have to change towels when they move from one object to the other?
From one, oh boy.
That's a tough one.
These are the towels, these are little hand towels with the sanitizer. Yeah. God, you know what? I am not horribly familiar with those. I have seen them. I would just say that you keep testing your bucket and make sure that it is reading the correct, that it is like 200 to 400 or whatever the minimum sanitizer level should be for that product. Does that help?
Yes. And is it acceptable to use cleaning cloths? And I'm not sure what they mean by, Bambi, type in what you mean by cleaning cloths.
Well, when we're wiping down the tables, we want to do we want to clean them off. So like soapy water, yes. And then we want to go over that again with the sanitizer. So two different, so a clean rag, and then you go through with a sanitizer cloth.
Yeah, okay. And then they want to know if we can reuse prepackaged food items that have not been opened, such as
Ugh.
milk and grab-and-go breakfast items
Re,
that have been served to the students.
okay, so are we talking like a share table type thing?
I
Is
think
that
so.
what you think so?
I think so.
You know, I do not recommend doing a share table. However, you know, there has been the FDA has put out information stating that there hasn't been there's no evidence of transmission of the virus necessarily on packaged items. You know, the risk is more with respiratory droplets. You know, there still is a risk, but you know, you might, like, if you have items like left over like that, you might, just as a precaution, perhaps like leave them away for, I don't know, a couple days and then kind of recirculate them back in. But I mean, we don't recommend doing the share table, you know, and with items like milk and stuff like that, those really shouldn't be.
Yeah, because if they're in the classroom, they wouldn't have an ice bucket to put them into
Yeah, you're
unless
not
they
gonna be
send
able
it down. Right.
to hold them at the right temperature. So I don't recommend doing that.
Okay. Our next question is, if I have a sneeze guard, does my individual salads have to be lidded? And do I have to wrap vegetables? Can they just grab their own salad bar item then?
So like if you have like a salad in a little bowl with no lid on it, that would need to be under a sneeze guard. If you have a salad, you know, and you know, since salad is a potentially hazardous food item, we want to, or a temperature control for safety item, we want to make sure that that is also held at temperature 41 or lower. So, I mean, it really should be, you know, on ice or able to maintain that temperature, unless you're using time as a control where you're going to toss the salads away, you know, if they haven't been eaten. But yeah, so if they have a lid, you know, and you're using time as a control, you could leave them out on the counter like that, or, you know, leave them underneath the sneeze guard in a temperature controlled environment.
Very good. Okay. Oh, someone's getting very technical on us, Mandy.
Oh God.
What is the best sanitizer?
Oh, I don't think they'd let me say. I mean, you know, as long as you use whatever you're using as directed. So, I mean, just read the directions, basically, you know, as far as like contact time and just keep checking your sanitizer and make sure that you know, that it doesn't lose its efficacy. But yeah, I can't really endorse any one sanitizer.
No. Okay, so they want to clarify on the return items. It wouldn't be a shared table. It'd just be like unused yogurt or juice that was only for one child. The time frame should be less than 30 minutes in the classroom.
Okay. So, okay, so let's, like, hypothetically, they're sending out like a group of, like a container of like 10 yogurts and the kids don't want the yogurt.
Yeah, that's
So
what
it
I would
stays
say.
there, but maybe it hasn't been served to them. Is that right?
Yep, I think
That's
right, Laura.
Yeah.
Are you still
Well,
there?
it would be in an individual box for each child.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, like cheese and a little yogurt and all that stuff in the, okay. you know, honestly, it's up to you. If you are going to save them, we'd want to make sure that, you know, if it was a temperature controlled item, you know, we'd want you to have like ice in the cooler so you could put them in there and hold them at that and a temperature before it goes back to the kitchen. Or, you know, if you want to be extra careful, like I said, you could leave the ones that were previously served kind of out of commission for a few days and then recirculate them back in. That's my best. Does that help?
Yeah.
Is that what? Okay.
That's, yeah. Okay, so I think we are slowing down on our questions. So we want to thank Mandy for doing a great job speaking to us today. If you have any other questions for Mandy, please put them in the chat box and we will get the answers for you later. So everybody, thank
Okay.
Mandy with a clap.
Thank you. Thanks, Beth. Yeah, and if anybody has questions for me that you know, you can email me too. You can give out my email, Beth, if you.
Okay, I will.
All right, cool.
Okay.
All right. And if I don't know, I will find out for you. Like if I can't find it, if I don't know if it's kind of a, you know, I'll go to the our FDA contacts too and ask them. So.
Okay, perfect.
All
so
right.
We will now turn this over to Miss Donna. Oh, I gotta unshare. Sorry, my fault. I have to stop sharing. Okay, Donna, you're up.
I will be up, and let me open up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Donna. Wrong person.
No problem. I will figure out what I'm doing here. Excuse me. Seems like maybe this should be a little easier to share my screen. I apologize. Of course, it would be.
Do you want me to do it?
Would you please go back?
Yeah.
I am having and then you can help me with my slides.
Yeah.
Mandy's information was extremely helpful. Lots of information, which we appreciated hearing. I think I have to stop sharing, Beth. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just bear with us for some technical difficulties as we maneuver Zoom. It's still new to us, but we get better every time, except today. I'm not getting better.
I'm not either.
So let's talk about next the administrative tasks for July and August. Wanted to just remind everyone that direct certification lists are available. Private schools need to upload your enrollment. And for public schools, Advisor opens August 1st, and the sooner you can upload your information into Advisor, the sooner that you can ensure that you are matching on the most current information with your student enrollment. So wanted to mention that. Another thing that's on the task list to do is to notify your direct certification households of meal eligibility. And then with that, it's time that schools send out their notification to households about applying for meal benefits. So that includes the household letter, which is how to apply for meal benefits and how to obtain access for the income eligibility form for households to complete. You also want to make sure that you tell your households how they can obtain and submit their income eligibility forms online, in person, dropping it off, secure email or fax. With many open houses not happening now, we really want to ensure that households have the ability to submit an application, and informing them of all the information, how to submit it is very important. Beth, would you go on to the next slide, please? Reimbursement rates have not been released yet. We anticipate perhaps even this week that those rates will be released from USDA. If you have not completed the paid lunch equity tool for school year 2021, you need to be doing that because you need to establish your paid meal prices for the next school year. Just as a reminder, for adults, the recommendation from our office is at a minimum $3.85 for lunch and $2.35 for breakfast. It is time to complete school year 2021, the school meals application packet in the child nutrition program. That's the website where that packet is located. You'll be completing the sponsor application, site applications as necessary. That packet is due to be submitted to our office by August 15th. It is now open for you to complete. When you are completing that application packet, you will want to ensure that your DUNS number is not older than 1 year. So that is a process I'm sure many of you have went through. The sooner you start, the sooner you will get your date of renewal. So please take a look at your DUNS number and ensure that it's not older than 1 year. Please notify Nutrition Services if you have a new food service manager, claim contact, or authorized representative. You can certainly email us. You will also be marking the box that indicates if this person is new in the application packet. For our non-public schools, you will need to complete your annual financial report. That was actually due by July 15th. If you have not completed it, please make sure that you complete it now. And if you are not on mute, please mute your microphone. I just got a message in the chat box that I am cutting out pretty bad. And sometimes if you turn off your video also, that helps. So please turn off your mic and your video and we'll see if that improves. If you could let me know, I sure would appreciate it. The last thing I wanted to talk about for administrative reminders is please enter your food safety inspections. These are actually due by October 15th, but if you are in your school meals application, it is also in the drop-down box of the food safety inspections, and because you are reporting information from the previous school year, which would be school year 1920, that information can be entered. That is the number of food safety inspections you received in school year 1920, and you report by feeding site. So those are the reminders. I wanted to talk just a little bit about the fresh fruit and vegetable program. I know many schools have applied for the grant for next school year. Those applications have been reviewed. We are currently waiting on USDA funding to determine the number of schools to be awarded, and I anticipate those letters will be going out soon. So if you're wondering, just know that we're waiting on funding from USDA at the present time. The next slide, I want to talk just a little bit about some food service considerations, hopefully to clear up a little confusion that some schools may be having right now as you transition from the summer food service program to the school meals program. Just to emphasize that the summer food service program cannot be used to provide meals when school resumes in August. Really want to emphasize that. That was, meals were provided during the unanticipated school closure, and then it was extended, but once school resumes in August, meals will be planned, served, and claimed under the school meals program. Reimbursement will be based on the reimbursement rates released from USDA in the next couple of days. So reimbursement will be back to the school meals pattern. Other food service considerations we want to clarify and make sure everyone is clear on. Offer versus serve has always been optional for grades K through 8. We certainly have encouraged offer versus serve for all grades, giving students the opportunity, elementary students the opportunity to be able to turn down food items that they do not intend on eating. But it is optional. USDA released the waiver for offer versus serve for high school students. High school students are considered grades 9 through 12. With this waiver, schools can elect not to require offer versus serve for this grade group, because offer versus serve prior to the waiver was mandatory for 9 through 12 grades. I think in USDA's insight that perhaps maybe meals would have to be sent home if schools would be closed due to what being maybe in the red risk area where remote learning only, that if meals have to be sent home, there will not be offer versus serve, and that all food components in required portion sizes must be served. This would also probably be if meals are sent to the classroom, that you could not utilize offer versus serve. Meals would be bagged for students in the classroom. And once again, all food components in required portion sizes for the grade groups must be served. So emphasizing that, and thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Donna, and she will be talking to us about back to school and food service.
Hi, everyone. I will quickly show you where some of the resources that we feel are really important right now are located on the web page. And I believe maybe, there you go. Boy, she read my mind. Let me see here. Now it's my turn, Sean.
It all works until you're live.
Yeah, you know, I don't understand this. Okay, here we go. I have to make it big. There we go. Okay. Which one do I want to go to? I believe maybe, good grief. Not email, screen 2. Where's this? Okay. Here we go. All right. Whew. That was tough. I'm really tired already. Okay, so basically, I wanted to show you, like I said, some of the resources that we feel are important and let you know where they are located on our website. We're going to start with our Nutrition Services homepage, and as you can see here, you have the CNP waivers at a glance. And once you click on that, it brings up the document that is 5 pages long, listing all of the current waivers that are in effect. And so this is I've been getting a lot of questions, and I'm sure everyone else has too, about the offer versus serve flexibility waiver for senior high schools. And so that happens to be the first waiver on the top of the second page. And I believe I saw a question where someone said, how do I apply for these waivers? And these are all nationwide waivers, correct? So you guys don't have to do anything. They're already in effect, and you don't have to fill out any paperwork, which is good news, right? So that's the first thing I wanted to show you on our homepage. If you scroll down, there's a lot more information here you can scroll through, but I wanted to scroll down to where we keep our information on this webinar series. And basically the latest webinar will be always posted on this page, but you will also have access to previous webinars and the discussions that go along with these webinars and the PowerPoint slides in some cases. And you can see that here in this area. And then I want to show you one more thing on this page. Boy, this is a page full of good stuff. This is a really important section too, because it aligns with what Mandy was discussing today, the food safety, part of this. And these are standard operating procedures and protocols that we can attribute to our own Beth Haas. She was the one who put this information together. And basically, yeah, I know, she's amazing. And basically, we can see here, you can click on the different maps and it will show you, this is the map that you saw earlier in the presentation, showing you the name of your inspector and contact information. And then we also have a map of the local health departments, which is information that would be very valuable. So I wanted to show that to you too. Now, another thing that I wanted to show you is that we told you that we were not going out to offer face-to-face, in-person workshops this year for obvious reasons. And so if we scroll up to the top of this page, I'm going to show you how to get to our training webpage and show you where those the workshops are starting to be loaded. If you click on school meals program and come down here to training, and now we're on the nutrition services homepage, school meals program, click on training. Boy, after I got here, this is working just like a charm. Now let's see how much else I can screw up before I'm done. Then the third link here is School Meals Program 2020 Annual Training. And this is what is taking the place of the 101 workshop. So if you click on this, it will take us to a page that shows us that the school meals breakfast meal pattern video web has already been, I guess it would be more of a video, I think, terminology here. But then there's also the school meals lunch meal pattern. And I've been working with Marianne, and Michelle has been the person who's done the most of the work on these and getting them uploaded. So we owe her a big round of applause also, Michelle, thank you. Because right now we have 2 sections listed and there will be more coming. There's still offer versus serve, and there is still some grains information and so on. And if you scroll down, there are training resources that go along with the videos here down at the bottom. So we have meal pattern charts, grain resources, and additional resources. So I wanted to be sure and show you where that's located. We've been getting a lot of questions about this type of training that is good, really mandatory basically for new managers, plus also other people who want to get a jump on their hours for this year. The last thing I want to show you is one more time, I want to show you Launch Nebraska, and I actually have it up, but I can't help it. I like to watch the page load and all those words zoom in because it's gorgeous. And this is our page where we will have a lot of information about conditions for learning and supporting considerations. And I think we've showed this to you a couple times, so this is review for a lot of you. But for those of you who haven't seen this before, you go up here to conditions for learning at the top, click on that, and then scroll down a little bit. You'll see that there are 5 categories here. And of course, we're really interested in the nutrition services supporting considerations. Click on that and it will download in a Word document, which is of course going to come up on my other screen. No, it didn't this time. Awesome. And so this is not answers, oh, there it goes, not answers to questions, but more of considerations to think about. And we cover a lot of area, a lot of information in these 8 pages. So if you come down here, you'll see that considerations for food service staff. In other words, what are some of the things you should consider, and for meal service and different types of meal service, that you can actually go in and you can look at things that may give you some ideas of things you should be thinking about. So I believe that is all of the information I am covering today. So I'm going to turn it back over to, I don't know, who wants it? Sean, okay.
Sure.
So there we go.
Beth, would you control my screen, please? Would you bring up the PowerPoint?
It's a good thing we work together well, or this would never happen.
Thank you for your patience, everyone, as we maneuver through this. I can maybe answer some of the questions as Beth is working to pull up the PowerPoint. One of the questions was asked, can staff watch the videos and obtain their training hours? And yes, of course, you just need to document, have them sign in that they viewed the training by name, date, what they watched, and how long it took them, probably, for the number of hours that they're claiming for credit, and keep that documentation. That would be a good way to get some CEUs. And then another question came in, where do you go to get your CEU hours? Well, we offer some training on our website, and the Institute, oh boy, help me with the name of the Institute, has some.
Institute of Child Nutrition.
Thank you. Institute of Child Nutrition has some fabulous training opportunities that you can certainly view and obtain credit for. Once again, just keeping your documentation of what you watched, when you watched it, and the hours of credit you are claiming. So that's a wonderful resource. So Beth, can you pull up the PowerPoint?
Dropped it down. I gotta find it again.
I am so sorry I'm making you do all this.
Oh, that's all right. I just have to find you.
Here.
Thank you, Katie.
Got it. Okay, I got it for
I'll
you.
stop sharing.
Okay, sounds good. Does that look right?
Yes, that looks wonderful. If you could,
Need to go down a bit.
yes, and I promise next time I will have this better.
You good?
Yep.
I think,
Yeah,
Here?
you're good.
is that the right slide, Sean?
Would you keep going down?
Oh, sure, yeah. You can tell I wasn't listening very closely.
We're doing great. We're next slide, and we're ready to go. If you would. Okay, I have the pleasure of introducing Chef Sharon Schaefer. Chef Sharon is the food service director at Gretna Public Schools. She was nice enough to agree to join us today. Chef Sharon, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you perfectly. And thank you. Let me finish the rest of the introduction for you. She is part of a group of food service managers, and that would be the Nebraska School Nutrition Association District 2. There are 10 different school districts, 10 different counties that make up District 2. And this group has met 3 times via Zoom to navigate together what school food service may look like when school resumes. And we're getting very close to school resuming. So this group has met and discussed some concerns. They have a meeting this coming Thursday, July 23rd at 2 o'clock. And Katie, would you go to the next slide? Sharon, is it okay that I listed your email address if anyone would like to get the Zoom link for that meeting on Thursday? Would they email you?
Yeah, that's
Perfect.
fine. I also shared the Zoom link with each of the district chairs. So there's a person responsible for every single district. I just happen to be the District 2 person, and I sent that Zoom link out. So you could contact your district chair or me.
Perfect. And some of the topics that you're going to be discussing on Thursday just sounded fascinating to me.
Did you want me to just kind of talk about that a little bit?
Sharon, would you please? Thank you.
Absolutely. So I think that I started this because I'm one of 6 children and I have a hard time doing things alone. And in school nutrition, we're never alone. There's tons of coworkers and kids. But since March 16th, I think a lot of us have felt very alone for the first time. When I started to think about what back to school would look like, I thought, well, we've got this great group of counties, Sarpent County, Cass County, Douglas County. Forgive me, I'm not going to remember all of them, but like 10 or 11 counties. So I just sent an email out to all the district directors and said, hey, if you're feeling the same as me, let's get together. We've had, our smallest school has 105 meals served a day. Our largest would be Millard Public School, 24,000 meals. 24,000 kids, about 18,000 meals a day. So we do have a broad spectrum of people that are considering how to open back up for K-12 smallest of our situations all the way up to one of our largest districts in the state. So I think that it does offer some flexibility in what we're talking about and lots of points of view. I also have noticed from the people that are participating, a lot of the Catholic schools, private and parochial schools, are on this call. The kitchens are run by fabulous kitchen managers, but they might not have, because there may be 400 students, or in some situations 450, 245 students. They might not have a very robust team to help them put this together. We created our own. On our first call, we talked about all of the different scenarios that might come up. How would we get food to a classroom if we needed to? How would we get food sent home if we needed to? How could we utilize busing and transportation if we needed to? How should we price meals for back to school if we were going to have more of similar items across the board, K-12, which might be new to some of us? We talked about food handler training. One of the great things that came out of this group is not any of us have all of the resources, but together we have many more resources. So somebody had an email from food handlers. Another person had an email from ICN. Another person had the thought starter from SNA download. So at the end of the call, whatever resources people have seen and found value in, we go ahead and share that out to the group. So I think that that's been really helpful. Having Millard on the call, I don't know if Justin is on this training today or if anyone on his team, but Millard's a very large district, so having them on the call has been wonderful because they do have that strong, robust team in place. And from our very first call, they were able to share that they were considering up to 5 different scenarios of food service, which was a little eye-opening to us in smaller districts. The second call, we talked through service models. If we serve in the cafeteria, what do we need to consider? And things that came up is creating that 6-foot distance as often as possible, or using PPE, personal protective equipment, for both staff and students. that would be bringing students into our cafeterias with masks potentially. If we could not create that 6-foot distance, many of us are moms as well as school nutrition professionals, and we were trying to imagine many little wiggly happy bodies keeping 6 feet distance. And we're thinking that that is something that we will work with the kids on, but wearing masks while on the lunch line might be another layer of protection. Also in our brainstorming session, we talked about having signage, possible rope and stanchion or some sort of divider to keep the kids that are online kind of in a row and a little bit more organized than they might do on their own. We talked about pros and cons of disposable trays versus using our reusable trays and our proper sanitation technique in between. We talked about resources as far as what could our paras or other professionals in the building help with the cafeteria needs. Also in that second call, we talked about our what would happen if we're serving food in a classroom, or most extreme would be if we're making food and sending it home. And we had a very interesting conversation about what type of carts, transportation, POS, our point of sale. We obviously would not have a cashier in every single classroom, and we want to make sure that we're capturing those meals correctly and at the right time at the end of the line or when it's being passed out in the classroom. Other things that came up from the brainstorming is the microwave that many of us have in the cafeteria. It might be to reheat something from home, but we were trying to identify what would be touched by many people and not normally be sanitized in between those touches. And the microwave is one of those things we all went, oh yeah, I have one of those. So just the consideration of maybe this is the year that the microwave's removed, or we individually come up with a way to make sure that it is in fact getting cleaned before and after uses. Other things that we've discussed is how to best protect our staff, taking temperatures daily, knowing what our employees' baseline temperature is, making sure that they're sent home if that's elevated by 1 degree above their normal, which would be a sign that something's brewing. It doesn't necessarily mean coronavirus. It actually probably does not mean coronavirus, but they're working on something. So that is an easy thing to monitor daily and keep those logs on hand. We talked about the meal pattern. K-8, you could very easily come up with menus for K-8 that it would be the same, but when we get into our 9th grade through 12th grade, we have those larger portions of vegetables would be the biggest area that we don't see the crossover. So we'd have to be adding to our meals. Other things that have been discussed is if we send it to a classroom, how do we properly offer choices of milk? We haven't solved that yet. We're going to talk about that again on our call this week, but we would not be able to say, do you want this milk or that milk? They will get one milk, and we definitely want to make sure we're doing the right things. Do we need an injustice for all if we're serving in the classroom? Does every classroom need to have it? Or could we position that poster in a main hallway so as students are walking to the classroom, they would all be exposed to that poster? Last but not least, the other talking point was water. Some facilities will not have access to water if they're in the classroom. And in the cafeteria, we've come up with lots of great creative solutions. But when you bring the kids to the classroom, we're hoping that it is acceptable that a child could have a reusable water bottle that is only used by them, and they could access a water fountain that's just outside of the classroom to meet that water requirement. So this Thursday, we still have a lot to talk about, but our focus will be coming up with 2 to 3 weeks of menu items that could be served in a cafeteria, could also be packed and sent to a classroom, and could also be packed and sent home. We're hoping that by brainstorming 2 or 3 weeks of items together, that everybody can pick or choose and walk away with a menu that will work for their particular population. So that's the nuts and bolts of it. I needed friends to help me solve problems, and I found them, and they're wonderful. And we would like to share those people with you too.
Thank you so much, Chef Sharon. You gave us so much good information and lots of things that need to be considered as we move forward. Really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, Katie, if you would go to the next slide. We are going to break out in groups. And the question today for your group discussion is, what questions do you have about what we discussed today? And I'm sure lots of things that were discussed were thought-provoking. So what we would like you to do is we're going to send you to your breakout group, and you will have about 10 minutes in your breakout group room. And then we want you to enter any questions you have in the chat box. We're going to take your questions in the chat box, and we will do our best to answer those questions. So Katie, if you would send our group to the breakout rooms, that'd be wonderful.
You
And
bet.
Sharon has already entered some of her questions in the chat box. Sharon, thank you. And we will send everyone else to the breakout room.
Okay, it should work automatically for you. So you'll see a little dialog box appear on your screen and it should send you there, okay? Thank you.
John, are we supposed to go to a breakout room?
You can if you want. It gives you the choice. You can certainly stay online. I see we have a lot of people still with us, and we can have our own little breakout group right here if you would like. I see there's quite a few of us still together. So if any of you have questions, we can certainly chat about your concerns, or you can enter your questions in the chat box. That's not guaranteeing that we know the answers. That's just a question that we will try and answer for you. So I see a lot of names still on my screen where you haven't went to a breakout group. So does anyone have any questions? You can certainly unmute. As I open up the chat box, maybe. Questions come in about the milk price and still the guidance we have received is that we have to offer the milk choices and water requirement and is still in place that water has to be offered. Yeah. Having a picture in the classroom and using the teacher tour. What do others do? How about the "And Justice for All" poster? I would think that would need to be in each individual classroom, and what they describe of having it posted in an area that's visible to students would be sufficient. Are you agreeing with that?
I would agree with you, Sean.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Donna, you in agreement?
Oh, we've asked that question of USDA before when it was breakfast in the classroom, and they said that it did not have to be posted in every classroom.
Thank you, Laura. That in a central location visible would be sufficient.
Yep.
The water in the classroom.
Water in the classroom.
Yeah.
I think that wasn't that said that it just had to be close because they, I don't know for sure.
He has to be able to get the water. But with the new restrictions, would we send a student with a cup into the hallway to use a water fountain?
Well, the water fountains should be off, but if they have one of those bottle dispenser, they could.
Okay, and if they don't,
That's a good question. Is Mary Ann still on here?
yep.
Didn't we have this discussion about water?
Yes. We talked about water not having to go home and sack lunches.
Yeah.
I just know that I think they're still talking about trying to possibly come up with a waiver yet regarding water. I think we just still have to wait to hear if USDA is going to make any recommendations on how to serve it. We don't want everyone having to purchase bottled water. That's just such a tremendous cost. And the fact that they might actually buy, excuse me, buy like those little chubs. Well, then every kid's going to want one. I don't know how you win this one.
I don't either.
Okay, anything else that we can answer? Thank you, Katie, for posting the Institute. Oh no, that's not the Institute, that's our training. Any updates on the Spanish free and reduced form? No.
On what?
Ready by the end of the month. I did ask about that this morning. The translator has it. So hopefully at least by next Friday, it will be posted on the website.
Great. Thank you.
Good. I think Rowan was asking about that.
Mhm.
He was in the chat box. And are there any videos put on school websites for parents to watch? From Elaine Berta, and I assume she might be talking about nutrition services, like we develop a web or a video.
I don't know what she was talking about.
Not aware of any videos that schools could post that would come from our office.
Did you see I just typed in the chat box? There's about a minute and a half left.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll bring them back and start. And so then their questions will appear in the chat box.
Only if they type them there. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, because
I don't know that they would have typed any in their breakout room time, but if they did, then they would be appearing here for us now.
oh, well, that's weird because they're not.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. If not,
Yeah.
we'll answer the ones we just, oh, some of them just did. Okay. Some of them just appeared. Okay. Students here really love the open salad bar. Do you think we will get to have one this year?
Did you see my comment? I said, we can hope.
And
to
on
have
one,
a salad bar.
we didn't have a spokesperson.
That's all right.
So we'll give you well, I will give you my reins. I don't want to do it.
Okay.
All right.
You can just type it into the,
And we're looking at the chat box, and we'll start with the chat box first and answer some of the questions we can answer. We are waiting for additional USDA guidance on many of the questions that you are asking, and we don't have the answers yet. But I do anticipate that in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have additional from USDA addressing some of your questions. So one of the questions that came through the chat box was about the And Justice for All poster in the classrooms if you are serving in the classroom. And as long as the poster is visible to students, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the individual classrooms. As long as it's posted where it's visible, then that should be sufficient. So we are going with, it doesn't have to necessarily be individual classrooms. It does need to be posted and visible to students. Normally, it would be posted either in the dining area or the serving area. And if you are sending meals to the classroom, we are saying that as long as it's posted and visible to students in the school, then it doesn't have to be in the individual classroom. As we go on down, one of the questions that we asked was, students here really love the open salad bar. Do you think we will get to have one this school year? And I wish we were mind readers on what was going to happen, but we are not. And this whole pandemic is for all of us that we have never experienced before. I think it's great to be hopeful that things will get back to somewhat normal, but right now they're not, and so we would hate to anticipate or say, we just don't know at the current time. Serving 9 through 12 students, we are, sorry, I'm going to have to move this over a little bit. When serving 9 through 12th grade students, we are taking the room. Cannery fruit portion covered half cup vegetable and fruit on each tray and offer half cup portion packed fruits and vegetables on the side to meet their fruit and vegetable requirements. That is a modified versus offer versus serve. Offer versus serve are they have to offer all 5 food components up to pick and choose or components they want. They have to leave in line with at least a half a cup of fruit and or vegetable for the full meal. But what this is asking is a modified version of offer versus serve. At the current time, we do not have guidance to allow that. If you are taking food to the classroom, our current guidance is you have to meet meal pattern in the required portion sizes. And I am welcome for any team member to join me if they have anything to add to that. But right now we are going with what the planned portion size to meet meal pattern requirements for each food component. Oh, a question was asked, where does the poster come from, the non-discrimination poster? That poster comes from our office. And I believe that you can just send an email to one of us and we can ensure that a poster is sent to your school. The next question, will salad bars be allowed to be used if foods are not lidded but have a sneeze bar? Beth, I'm going to let you address that answer to that one.
A sneeze guard would have to protect it from the short little guys going through the line. Get some plexiglass or some clear plastic and put up there.
Okay. If we do grab and go in a different area, would it have to be posted in that serving area? Oh, if we do grab and go in a different area, would the non-discrimination poster have to be posted in that serving area? So they come, they get the meal, and they go to the classroom. Yes, you would need to post, have the non-discrimination poster. Do my coworkers agree with me on that one?
Yes.
Thumbs up, thank you. Where do we obtain the poster? Once again, contact our office. Nutrition services. The question, I think I ordered mine off the USDA website. They are free. The posters are large and they have to be posted in the correct size. They're not legal. Yes, aren't they? What is that size? It's like 8 by 14, or it's even bigger than that. And it has to be posted in the correct size. If you get it off the website and print it, it's doubtful that you are printing the correct size. Please contact our office and we can send you. And we want to make sure that you're using the most up-to-date poster. That poster actually changed this year. It is fine if you still have the old poster up, but the new poster that was released at probably towards the end of last school year does have a different look. Regarding the poster, one could be posted at the entrance of the school or one on each floor, as long as it's visible to students. That would be sufficient. We have screens all over the school. You think about adding an injustice for all to the slide will be a good idea. Not exactly for sure what you're asking, but the poster does need to be visible to students, and so it does need to be located so that it's visible. As we go on down, can we saran wrap trays and have students pick up and take to classrooms? That's an interesting concept. Students would still be going through the serving line, and so you'd be practicing social distancing as they go through. Beth, I'm going to let you chime in on the saran wrap idea.
If it's saran wrap before the kids walk it down the hall, that's fine.
Thank you. Mary, thank you for telling us the poster is 11 by 14. So it is a very large size. I appreciate that. And you know what? Surprisingly, those are the questions. Rowan, you had asked when the Spanish version of the application would be released. And word is that it will be posted hopefully by next Friday on our website. It is to the translator, and we are waiting for it to come back to our office. So that's the latest on the Spanish version of the income eligibility application. So as I look through the chat to make sure that we addressed everything, please, if we did not, unmute yourself and ask your question. As I go back and look through, I see that Mary asked the question, if someone in the household is on the direct cert list, does that make everyone in the household eligible? Well, it depends. If they're on the direct cert list is foster, foster does not extend. SNAP extends, TANF extends, Medicaid free, Medicaid reduced extends. Any other questions as we look on down? You guys have been great to hang on with us throughout our presentation. I know we went a little bit long, but we had some very good presenters today. Next week, we're going to have vendor, hopefully, give us some information on ordering considerations for back to school.
Okay.
Hi, this is Nancy and David from Walkshill. I have a question.
Sure.
Our school is considering buying water bottles for everyone, and they will be returned to the kitchen to sanitize several times a week. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that. Anybody?
Yeah, thank you. Great question, Beth.
We will ask Mandy if that's allowable. So we'll get back to you, Nancy and David.
Thank you.
Anytime.
So,
I had a question. Could I ask, please?
Please.
Okay, we're talking about that serving line. We are planning on having some kids eat to social distance in the classroom, 2 grades, I think, and some up in the gym. They're going to have tables, but they're going to come through the serving line and take their tray up there. They have to have a cover on them if they walk it. They do. But our kids are all going to wear masks coming through the serving line. Do they still need to cover their tray?
Sorry, let me check with Mandy on that. Because when we talked about it, it was not masked. Everybody was not masked. So if they're all masked, we may be okay, but I want to check on that first.
Because yes, I can't imagine having them come through the line and trying to cover the tray then and walk. We wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great to find out. Thank you.
Sheila asked, I'm interested in hearing what's decided on the water bottle question. We are going to be posting the questions and answers on our website under that location where Donna showed you earlier, where serving up great school meals is located. So because we don't have the answers to all of your questions, let's see, okay. Yeah, the question was also asked, do delivery drivers need to have temps checked before entering? Another food safety question I don't think we know the answer to. We cater for our child development center. When they pick up, will they need to pick up in the hallway by the lunchroom and have masks? Or do we need to meet them at the door? Any of these questions would be probably directed also to your local health department. Some of these are food safety questions that, you know, we can ask Mandy, but it might be better to ask your own local health department some of these questions, because I don't know, you know. I don't know the answer to that one.
Agree, Sean, yeah.
The question came up, is anyone considering sending home breakfast with students the end of the day before? That was another great question that someone already has asked us, and there's a lot to consider with that. We are putting the responsibility of sending a meal home with a student and ensuring that that meal is taken out of that backpack and stored properly. And so that's a lot of responsibility and a food safety concern in that, will that milk be refrigerated? Will perishable items be refrigerated? That we didn't really have a answer to either, if it was even allowable, because you're actually sending a meal home the day before and counting it, but you're in session the next day. So didn't know exactly the answer to that one either. It is kind of thought-provoking, but don't have an answer to give you on that one either.
I have a question.
Sure.
We serve our lunch in like our main cafeteria area, obviously, and we have passed through from the high school during that time, twice during our elementary lunch. What are your suggestions on that? We plan on having like a directed area, but to get everybody through and stay that 6 feet apart that whole time, going opposite directions during lunch. What do you suggest?
Well, what you have just said, you have your elementary students eating, and you have high school students going through the cafeteria, passing through as those elementary students are eating twice. Is that correct?
Correct. We have a gym that they can go through to avoid pretty much all of the area except right by where our serving line is, of course. So for kids to get from one side of the building to the other, they have to go directly through the cafeteria. There's no other way unless they go outside, and well, we live in Nebraska, so that's not really an option.
Any thoughts from my coworkers? You know, some of this is going to be a school decision. It just is, you know, what's feasible for your school. You that as far as guidance that we can provide, you know, we can give you the recommendations, but when it comes down to it, it's going to be a school decision on what processes and what procedures you follow.
Okay.
It might be a question, once again, to direct to your local health department also, because it is really a question of not only, it's student safety is what it is. It's not necessarily food safety. It's really student safety because of the pass through of students and maintaining that acceptable distance. And
Okay.
if they're wearing masks. So definitely more of just a school decision.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Anything else for us? If you asked a question and you didn't get an answer, if you'd unmute and ask, I don't want to leave anyone out. It's not that we want to miss your question. It's just that there's quite a bit in the chat box. Give you a couple more seconds to either enter something into the chat box or ask your questions. And just really want to thank everyone for participating in today's Serving Up Great School Meals. We really appreciate it. As I have mentioned previously, I anticipate that we're going to get some more guidance from USDA. I know you're all trying to plan for back to school and what that might look like, and it's going to look different maybe for each school of what that's going to look like. Go back down through the chat box and make sure we didn't miss anything. There has been a lot of questions. Wellness policy and school decision. Okay, what a great question about parents bringing in treats. Is that a local question? That is a local question. Most schools don't allow parents to bring in anything homemade. And as far as prepackaged things for like parties, that would be a school decision. And I think that most schools have went away from that, but that would be something to check with the administration, what the policy would be on bringing in prepackaged treats. Once again, one of the waivers that was extended from USDA allows more flexibility with serving hours. So that is certainly an option that schools have, is to extend your lunch periods, your breakfast period. That might help with having less students in the cafeteria at the same time. What about a personal hygiene question, which is a good one? Employees wearing watches. That.
No. No.
No. Beth?
No.
The answer is no.
No. Anything from their Their wrist has to be free. The only thing they can wear on their hands and arms is a wedding band.
Thank you, Beth.
And that is in their SOP, their personal hygiene SOP.
The question came through and I mentioned, I think, the fresh fruit and vegetable program. It was something new to someone. The fresh fruit and vegetable program is a great program. It's targeted for schools with higher percentages of free and reduced students. So if your school has less than 50% free and reduced, you probably wouldn't be participating in that program. That is the basis for eligibility, is the higher rates of eligibility for free and reduced students. You can certainly go to our website. There is a link that describes the program. And so with that being said, I think we have addressed most of the questions. Appreciate your time and energy. Let's see, I think there might be something new that was added. What about administrative reviews this year? The person said, I think I might have missed it. No, you didn't miss it. We just haven't talked about it. As of right now, we haven't gotten word about administrative reviews. We are on a 5-year cycle. We have went from a 3-year cycle to a 5-year cycle. We are talking about administrative reviews, what those might look like. Will they be conducted on site like we've always done? Don't know, maybe doubtful. Would they be a desk review? Maybe, possibly. But as we receive information, we will certainly let you know. I know everybody looks forward to those reviews, and so you're anxious to know. And we will let you know if you're up for review, and also what that review might look like in school year 2021. Who has the bid for DOD fruit and vegetable? I believe that is, Beth, help me out.
Still Greenberg, as far as I know.
Yeah, that's who I thought it was. I just didn't want to say it out loud without you confirming it. Somebody's happy because they say they're going to be retired by the next administrative review. That's great. Congratulations. Something to look forward to. And Katie reminded me that, and everyone else, that we haven't received any guidance for any flexibilities on AR reviews yet. So, you know, if you have one, I think if you know you're going to be having one, just plan on it. It'll happen probably some way this year. If I did a new manager review, does that count in the 5 years? Well, it's an administrative review is the term, and there's different parts to the administrative review. One is the food service aspects of the program, and the second part of the review is more the bookkeeping, the free and reduced eligibility, the claim for reimbursement, looking at your wellness policy. I don't know exactly what a new manager review is. I'm thinking we're talking two different things, but not for sure. And I think with that being said, the meeting is over, and we once again thank you for hanging on and participating, and we will see you next Tuesday on the 28th at 2 o'clock. Thank you so much.